Okay, review 2. Question 1, for each of the graph below, state whether it represents a function. We're going to do the vertical line test. If you can draw a vertical line anywhere on the graph, anywhere, and it touches in more than one spot, then it is not a function. Okay, now this one's going to look like it, but this point does not count where it counts up here. So this is a function. I'm going to circle it instead of filling in the dots. Right here, it's not going to cross 2 points. Okay, so this is a function. And so is this. You only need one vertical line to prove that it's not. Okay, I'm just drawing it because these had more points. See, like down here, I can draw this one vertical line. It crosses in 2 points, so that's what makes it not a function. Same thing here. Now I can draw as many as I want like I did up here, but if it hits at 2 points, then it's not a function. And then same thing here, not a function. Okay. So now they give you 3 functions, f, g, and h, and this is how they're defined. So what you've got to find is f of negative 3. Let me change my pens. We're going to find f of negative 3. We're going to find g of negative 3. And we're going to find h of 12. Okay. You need to know that this right here, this is telling you plug negative 3 in for x in your f function. Here you take your g function and you plug negative 3 in for x. And here you take your h function and you plug 12 in for x. That is your x value. So now you take your f function, which looks like this. I gotta move my paper over. You have 15 plus 2 times whatever our x is. Our x is equal to negative 3. And you get square root of, this is going to give us negative 6. So 15 minus 6 gives us square root of 9. So we end up with 3. Okay, I'm not going to change out my pens because it takes too long. So, and you have that on the printed review. All right, now we're going to take our g function, which looks like this. 13 plus whatever x is, you're going to cube it, and which is, in this case, negative 3. I was getting ready to change my pens when I said I wasn't. All over whatever our x is, which is negative 3, cubed. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to follow your order of operations. You're going to do the cubes first. 13 plus, or plus a negative 27, so I'm going to just put minus 27. And on the bottom, I get a negative 27. So on the top, I end up with a negative 14. On the bottom, I get negative 27. And it won't reduce except it becomes a positive. I shouldn't have stapled my paper. I'm having to write over the staple and it's hard to write right there. Hopefully I'll do better in these next problems as far as neatness. Okay, h, we're going to use our h function, which says the absolute value of 1/4 times whatever 12 is minus 15. Right here, this gives me 3. Minus 15 gives us the absolute value of negative 12. Well, the absolute value of any number is always positive because it's a distance from 0. So the absolute value of negative 12 is 12. All right, the function h is defined here. Same thing as what we did here. We're just going to take this negative 4, and that's telling us plug it in for x. So wherever you see an x, you're going to plug in negative 4. You have 2 times negative 4 plus 1 over 6 times negative 4 plus 3. Negative 8 plus 1 That's going to give us -7 on the top, because we're going to follow your order of operations. On the bottom, this gives us -24, plus 3 gives us -21. That will reduce to a +1/3. 2 negatives, 2 is even, so your answer is positive. Okay, right here, we're going to do the exact same thing. It's just that instead of just a number, we're now going to make our x equal to 3a. So wherever you see, you take your function, okay, and you're going to find that. So you're going to say 2 times, I'm going to take out my x, I'm going to put 3a squared plus 4. Well, let's do our exponents first. That's going to give us 9a squared. So we have 2 times 9a squared plus 4. So order of operations, we're going to multiply. That gives us 18a squared plus 4. There's nothing I can't combine those two, so that's our answer. All right, right here. Again, the exact same thing. Right, I was looking at the directions without parentheses. Okay, so right here, and this is only because of the directions on why I don't know. Let me just work the problem. This is going to tell you that it's x plus 6. Okay, so x is equal to that. So wherever I see an x, I am going to put an x plus 6. So I'm going to say 7 over 2 times x plus 6 squared minus 4 times x plus 6. Okay, this is where some of you will mess up right there. So I know the shortcut, but if you are one of those people that don't know the shortcut, which most people do not, okay, most of my students do not, you are just going to go over here to the side someplace and you're going to do this part and you're going to use FOIL. So when you use FOIL, for this problem, when it's simplified, you're going to have 2 times just this part's going to give us x squared plus 12x plus 36. That's what I'll get when you finish this out and simplify. Okay, then we have minus, and we can go ahead and it doesn't matter. I'm going to say -4 times x is -4x. -4 times 6 gives us -24. Now I got to distribute my 2. 2 times x squared is 2x squared plus 24x. And 2 times 36 is 72. Going to make my line longer. Minus 4x minus 24. Alright, so on the bottom, we're going to combine our like terms. We have 2x squared, 24, and -4 gives us 20x. And then 72 minus 24 is going to give us 48. Okay, now because it says write your answer without parentheses and simplify as much as possible, well, the only thing I would say is you do need to see if this had like an x, like x plus 7 or something like that, I would say go ahead and factor this, but unless you can factor out a 7, it's not going to do any good. Okay, it will factor, but again, unless you're going to factor a 7 out where it will cancel, you're done. So that's your answer. And what I was meaning by that, because I can do this, if you were going to factor the bottom, you would factor out a 2, and you get x squared plus 10x plus 24. Okay? Well, that is going to factor as 2 times, because you got to keep the 2, x plus 6 and x plus 4. See how nothing will cancel? So that's why I didn't go any further. The only thing I would have canceled is if I could have pulled out a 7. And then it says, write your answer without parentheses. Okay? I could care less if your problem looks like that, your answer, or this. Okay? They're both the same thing. So that's an Alex thing. All right, next problem. The sugar sweet company is going to transport its sugar to market. It will cost $7,500 to rent the trucks. Whoops, as I drop my reading glasses. Plus $125 for each ton of sugar transported. The total cost C in dollars for transporting in tons is given by the following. Okay, we had to read that to find out what this means. That is the cost. Okay, and that is in the cost in dollars. And our N is our tons of sugar. And my red pen, let's see if this one works. Yep, tons of sugar. That's the only reason we read a word problem, to find out what those two variables stand for. Okay, so it says, what is the cost of transporting 11 tons? Well, that is our sugar. So wherever you see that, you put that in. Okay, so to find out the cost, I don't care if you call it C, I don't care if you call it C of N. What we're really finding here is C of 11. Because remember, that is our X. I don't care if you do all this. Because really all you're doing is 125 times 11 plus 7,500. Let your calculator do the work. Okay, so you're going to do 125 times 11 plus 7,500. And you get $8,875. Okay. If the total cost is this, 10,250, how many tons is the company transporting? Okay, so we're going to put the cost right there. 10,250 equals 125N plus 7,500. Okay, because this is linear, it's not a quadratic, so we're not going to factor or anything like that. We're just going to solve for n. We don't have to use quadratic formula because it's not a quadratic. Quadratic is an n squared. It's any of the some variable to the second power. Okay, so we're going to do the 10,250 minus our 7,500, and we're going to get the 2,750 equals 125 n. Going to divide by 125. So I'm just going to take my answer. I'm going to divide by 125, and I get 22. Okay, so that would be 22 tons of sugar is how much they transported. Okay, write the domain and range looking for a graph. Remember, domain is our x values. Let me see if I have, I don't think I have a highlighter handy. I do not, so we'll do the best we can with my pens. Okay, so domain is our x values. So what they want to know is what x values are used on this graph. Well, they don't have arrows. Okay, so it's between these two values. Okay, we only are using these x values. That is from -2, and it's got an open circle right there, over here to 3, and there's an open circle right there. I don't care if you put the open circles or not. This is just the way I'm going to explain it. That just means those values are not included. It's everything up to it. So we're going to say -2 to 3, and it's parentheses. Now we have the range. The range, oops, I picked up the bad red pen again, even though that one was further away. The range are our y values. Okay, well, it goes from there up to there. Okay, up to that point right there, and I didn't have the sticky part, so it's not staying. There's no hole there. Okay, there's no hole there. You have to actually see a hole just like this. So if there's no empty circle there, that's solid. So we are going to go from -4, and there's a hole right there, so that's a parenthesis from -4, and we're going to go up to 5 because that's the highest point on this graph. But again, because there's no hole, that means it's solid, so that is where we're going to put a parenthesis. So it would have been from here, well, really you start from the bottom and go to the top. So it's from here all the way up, and again, because there's no open circle there or no hole in the graph, it means it's a solid circle. Okay, wish I brought my highlighters, but you get the gist. All right, number 8. Okay, same thing, looking at a graph, got to find, now here's what I don't like, okay, and I can't remember what I said on on your test. If your test is written like this, I will try to remind you. What I don't like about this is we are used to seeing domain and then range. On this problem, they changed it up. They put range and then they put domain. And I just think that's confusing. Why ask domain and range and then all of a sudden they switch it up? So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to talk about the domain first because that's what we're used to. Oh, looking at this graph, this goes on forever. That means it keeps going out. It continues to go out. There is no holes, there's no exclusion of any x. So our x values are everything this way and everything that way. We did not exclude anything. So our domain is -infinity to infinity. Okay? Then we are going to do our range. Our range is from the bottom to the top. Now it goes on forever, but it doesn't go on forever up top. It stops at 1. Okay? It's right there. So for the for the range, it's going to be a solid circle here because there's no hole and it's everything this way. So it's -infinity up to 1. Oh, and it's a bracket.